Not every battle comes from strangers. Sometimes the greatest challenge to your calling comes through the voices you trust the most. The question is not who they are, but whether their influence is drawing you closer to your purpose or quietly pulling you away from it. The greatest opposition to destiny is not always hatred. Sometimes it is familiarity. Sometimes it comes wrapped in affection, concern, tradition, or even sincere advice. That is why discernment is one of the greatest gifts God gives to those who are serious about fulfilling their assignment. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that their influence is unhealthy. You can honor your family while refusing to abandon your purpose. Kingdom maturity teaches us that love and wisdom must always walk together. Compassion without discernment creates confusion. Loyalty without wisdom creates compromise. Respect without conviction eventually leads to regret. Many people have delayed their assignment, not because God failed them, not because opportunity disappeared, but because they allowed the wrong voices to become louder than God's direction. Every generation has people who choose comfort over calling, security over obedience, and approval over purpose. The kingdom invites us to live differently. Your purpose is too valuable to surrender for temporary acceptance. Today we are not learning how to accuse people. We are learning how to discern influence, because discernment protects destiny and wisdom preserves purpose. One of the greatest misunderstandings in spiritual growth is believing that good intentions always produce good influence. They do not. Many people genuinely love you and still unintentionally discourage what God is developing inside you. Some speak from fear because they have experienced disappointment. Others speak from tradition because they cannot imagine a different future. Some simply project their own limitations onto your possibilities. Their intentions may be sincere, but sincerity is not the same as wisdom. Kingdom people evaluate influence by its fruit. Does this relationship strengthen your faith? Does it increase wisdom? Does it produce peace? Does it encourage responsibility? Does it move you closer to your God-given assignment? These are the questions of spiritual maturity. Discernment is not suspicion. Discernment is not becoming cynical. Discernment is not judging hearts you cannot see. Discernment simply recognizes whether an influence consistently aligns with truth, wisdom, integrity, and purpose. Mature believers do not react emotionally to people. They respond wisely to patterns. Patterns reveal what isolated moments often hide. When you learn to discern influence rather than merely intentions, you begin protecting what heaven has entrusted to your care. Sign 1, repeated discouragement whenever you pursue your calling. One of the clearest indicators of unhealthy influence is consistent discouragement whenever you begin moving toward your purpose. Every new opportunity is questioned. Every dream is minimized. Every step of faith is met with criticism rather than constructive wisdom. Instead of asking how they can support your growth, the conversation repeatedly becomes a list of reasons why you should remain where you are. Kingdom wisdom teaches that wise counsel may challenge you, but it also strengthens your character and encourages responsible action. Discouragement that repeatedly weakens courage is different from loving correction. Respond without anger, listen respectfully, evaluate carefully. Keep a teachable spirit while allowing God's wisdom, not human fear, to become your final authority. Protect your vision through humility, preparation, and consistent obedience. Sign 2, constant pressure to compromise your values or convictions. Purpose always requires conviction. Every calling eventually reaches moments where convenience conflicts with character. Sometimes those closest to us encourage small compromises because they appear harmless. They suggest lowering standards, abandoning integrity, or choosing shortcuts for immediate comfort. Yet kingdom leadership teaches that every compromise has a destination. Character is never built through convenience. Your values are not obstacles to success. They are the very foundation upon which lasting influence is established. Respond with gentleness rather than pride. Refuse arguments that produce division. Quietly remain faithful to truth. Consistency eventually speaks louder than emotional debates. Mature believers protect convictions without becoming difficult people. Wisdom allows us to stand firmly while treating others with honor. Sign 3, manipulation through fear, guilt, or emotional control. Healthy relationships invite freedom. Unhealthy relationships often depend upon emotional control. Whenever fear, guilt, shame, or constant emotional pressure becomes the primary method of influence, wisdom calls us to pause and evaluate the relationship carefully. Love never demands the destruction of purpose. Honor does not require surrendering personal responsibility. Kingdom maturity teaches that we are responsible before God for how we steward our lives. Emotional manipulation often sounds spiritual while producing anxiety, confusion, or exhaustion. Freedom begins by recognizing the pattern without condemning the person. Establish healthy boundaries with kindness. Speak truth respectfully. Refuse to make major decisions under emotional pressure. Peace is one of the greatest indicators that wisdom is leading your choices. Sign 4, persistent influence that steals your peace, clarity, and confidence. There are relationships that consistently leave you stronger, and there are influences that consistently leave you confused. Every conversation ends with greater fear than faith. Every interaction weakens confidence instead of strengthening responsibility. Every decision becomes clouded by unnecessary anxiety. Kingdom wisdom teaches that clarity grows where truth is honored. Peace flourishes where wisdom governs. If a repeated influence continually robs you of emotional stability, spiritual focus, and confidence in your God-given assignment, do not respond with resentment. Respond with maturity. Create healthy distance where necessary. Increase time in prayer, reflection, learning, and wise counsel. Fill your heart with truth until clarity replaces confusion. Your peace is not weakness. Your peace is evidence that your heart is being governed by wisdom rather than emotional pressure. Discernment protects destiny because purpose always attracts competing voices. Every person carrying responsibility must decide which voices deserve influence. Boundaries are not walls built from bitterness. They are gates managed by wisdom. Healthy boundaries preserve peace, strengthen relationships, and prevent unnecessary conflict. They allow love to flourish without allowing unhealthy patterns to dominate your life. Truth never requires hatred. Freedom never requires revenge. Mature people do not spend their lives exposing others. They spend their lives developing themselves. The kingdom calls us to become people who respond with wisdom instead of reaction, understanding instead of accusation, and courage instead of fear. This is how purpose survives every season of opposition. Freedom begins by strengthening your relationship with God until His voice becomes clearer than every competing opinion. Guard your thoughts because your future follows the direction of your thinking. Protect your emotions from becoming controlled by temporary circumstances. Establish healthy boundaries with kindness, consistency, and respect. Forgive completely because bitterness imprisons the one who refuses to release it. Yet forgiveness does not eliminate wisdom. You may forgive while maintaining healthy distance where necessary. Continue growing in knowledge, discipline, excellence, and character. Refuse to become distracted by unnecessary conflicts. Walk daily in your assignment with humility, courage, and unwavering faithfulness. Your greatest response to unhealthy influence is not argument. It is becoming the person God created you to be. Declare this with faith. My purpose is secure. My mind is clear. My heart is established in truth. My peace is protected. Every unhealthy influence loses its power over my decisions. I choose wisdom over fear. I choose discernment over confusion. I choose purpose over distraction. I choose truth over compromise. I forgive freely, but I walk wisely. I establish healthy boundaries with love, honor, and courage. My calling will not be compromised. My character will not be corrupted. My vision will not be clouded. My future will not be determined by fear. I walk in wisdom. I walk in discernment. I walk in courage. I walk in divine authority. I walk confidently into every assignment God has prepared for my life.